Welcome to Sports Scene, everyone. I'm Flanagan, coming to you live from the Annenberg Media Center with Ken McCoy and Matthew Andrade. The battle for the women's soccer Pac-12 championship is coming down to the wire, and the Trojans will have to get it done without star forward Penelope Huang. Ken, let's start with you. Can USC overcome Huang's absence to take the conference title?
They can. If we go back and look at last week's game, Croy Bethune really stepped up and gave them that offensive firepower that they need. She scored 2 goals in the draw last weekend, giving them the win last weekend in Washington. I think that they still have enough, even without Huang, to do what they need to do in order to get, that top spot in the Pac-12.
Ken, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think this team will win the Pac-12, and the reason for that is because Penelope Huang and Croy Bethune have combined for 19 of the team's 40 goals this season. The next highest scorer for the Trojans is Savannah DeMello with only 4 goals. I just don't see this team getting enough offensive production to win those games and to get to the top of the Pac-12 standings. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Matthew. This is a really tight race for the Pac-12 championship, and right now UCLA is right behind USC. UCLA is currently ranked ahead of USC in national rankings and have an easier schedule coming up. So I think that USC will not win the Pac-12 championship. Let's get into some weekend predictions. USC will take on Cal at home tomorrow at 3 p.m. before a pivotal matchup with Stanford that could ultimately determine the Pac-12 champion. Matthew, will it be a home sweep for the Trojans this weekend, or will they run into some trouble?
I think this team is going to run into a little bit of trouble. They're going to beat Cal, and then they're going to lose to Stanford. Stanford right now, 9 shutouts on the season against their opponents, and the last team USC faced with 9 or more shutouts, Washington State in Pullman, which held USC to a scoreless draw. I don't see USC beating Stanford, but I do see an easy win against Cal this weekend.
I think USC will take on this weekend strong and go 2-0. The Trojans have been looking at some good offense, and right now Stanford's ranked 28th in goals allowed, and USC is at number 12 in offensive goals. So I think that this is a good matchup for USC, and they should be able to take this tough matchup against Stanford. They're ranked right. Stanford's number 9 and USC's number 10 nationally, so I think this is going to be a tight game, but USC will pull out with the win.
Right now, I have them going 1-1 this weekend with the win and with Cal. Within that series, they're 10-2 against the Bears. But when it comes to Stanford, the odds don't favor them that much. They have 19-5-4 with 3 losses in a row, and they haven't won against Stanford since 2016. So I don't see them pulling it off against a tough Stanford team, but they will get the win over Cal, so that should be pretty good.
Let's take a look at the rest of the schedule for USC, Stanford, and UCLA. The Trojans are sitting first with 20 points, the Cardinals right behind with 19, and the Bruins are at 18. For USC, it starts with a pair of critical matchups this weekend against Cal and Stanford. Matthew, will it be a clean sweep at home, or will USC run into some trouble?
I see USC running into a little bit of trouble against Stanford, but winning against Cal, and that will be enough to get them a little bit higher in the Pac-12 standings, but I still see them falling short of winning the Pac-12 championship and falling to maybe Stanford or UCLA, who will take home the Pac-12 crown.
They definitely will do a 1-1 this weekend. The matchup against Stanford is probably going to be their toughest one this season, being that they're right behind them in the standings. But I do have them, winning it against Cal with the record 14-10-2, with them winning the last consecutive matchup against them.
I'm going to take USC 2-0 this weekend because I think they'll take down both Cal and Stanford. With a week of rest and practice, I think USC's ready to take on both those teams. Right now, USC stands at number 10 in the country, and I think that they're looking strong for this weekend. They also have the hardest schedule in the NCAA, so I think that USC has had the experience they need to take on Stanford and Cal. Let's move on to football. USC football is gearing up for its homecoming game against Arizona this weekend. The Wildcats come into the game at 0-7 on the year. They haven't even won a game in over 2 years. For the Trojans, with 5 games to go, they'll probably have to take down Arizona if they want any chance at a bowl game. Drake London on playing in a bowl game.
How committed are you to finishing this season out with USC and playing in a possible bowl game if there is one?
100%.
On both?
Yeah.
It sounds like Drake London is fully committed to a potential bowl game this year. but I wonder, will it even matter? Will USC even get there? Matthew, what do you think?
I see USC getting to a bowl game by winning 3 of their final 5 games. 2 of those games against Arizona and Cal, which are not great teams. USC should win those games handily. And then there are 3 more games on the season: Arizona State, UCLA, and BYU. Each of these teams have had their struggles over the course of the season. They've had individual difficult games where they haven't been able to put up much offensive production. UCLA had a second half shutout against Arizona State. Arizona State was held to a shutout in the second half against Utah, and BYU was held to only 7 points in the second half against Boise State. These teams might have a difficult half or few quarters against the Trojans as well, and USC might be able to get just 1 win to get to 6-6 and go to a bowl game.
I couldn't disagree more. I don't see them getting to a bowl game, and the reason is they can't really rely solely on Drake London. Yes, the guy is good. Yes, the guy is leading the Pac-12 in all these receiving yards, but it's just not a good game plan to rely so heavily on one person. And plus, the offensive line hasn't really done a good job at protecting Keaton Slovis. Last game, he was sacked 3 times, and one of those times resulted into a fumble, which gave Notre Dame the momentum to ultimately win the game. So when you have things going on like that with your offensive line, and then your sole game plan is relying on Drake London, I don't see you making it to a bowl game, winning that way.
USC will miss a bowl game this year because they're going to lose to Arizona this weekend. Let me tell you, this has been a season of historic losses. USC has lost to Stanford in LA for the first time since 1916 and Oregon State since the first time since 1960. This is a season of home losses. The Trojans have lost the past 3 home games, and I don't see it going differently with Arizona this weekend. It is a matchup of the number 13 pass defense team and the number 13 pass offense team. So it's going to be a tight matchup, but I think Arizona is going to win it, and USC needs these wins in order to go to a bowl game, so I just don't see it happening for USC this season.
Hayes, I really think that USC is going to beat Arizona this weekend. They're one of just 2 FBS teams without a win so far this season. I think they're going to pick up that win. It'll be enough momentum to get them a few more to go to a bowl game.
It's early in the NBA season, but it's been an underwhelming start for the Lakers, especially the big 3. Ken, how can LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis start living up to the hype?
Well, right now, what they need to do is focus on chemistry. If we go back to last night's game, Russell Westbrook had one of his best games of the season so far. He scored 33 points and then had 8 assists, so he was two assists away from a triple-double, being the normal Russell Westbrook that we're used to seeing. But we can't be, dismissive of the fact that was without LeBron on the court. So once these guys gel well, maybe figure out how to stagger their minutes so that maybe that they're running a big 2 most of the time instead of running a big 3, maybe that'll work for them when it comes to the situation as far as building chemistry. But other than that, they still have a lot of room to grow.
Ken, I completely agree, and I think these next 5 games will be pivotal to see how this Lakers team is pulling it all together. The next 5 games, they have 2 against the Thunder, 2 against the Rockets, 1 against the Cavs. Those teams combined for only 3 wins so far this season. These should be easy wins for the Lakers, but we've seen recently that they're not quite living up to their potential. So if the Lakers do not come out of these 5 games with a 5-0 record, there is going to be some panic in Los Angeles.
Let me tell you guys, Westbrook needs to step up. So far, it's been the big 2. Where's the third? In the first 2 games, Westbrook only scored averaged 12 points and 9 turnovers. Right now, he is ranked 50th in the scoring in the NBA. He is being paid over $40 million to have 49 players better than him in scoring in the NBA. That's just absurd. We need to see Westbrook step up and create that big 3 that everyone's been looking forward to all summer since those trades happened. That's going to do it for today's sports scene. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to follow all our sports coverage at uscannonburgmedia.com and catch another sports scene next Wednesday. For Ken McCoy and Matthew Andrade, I'm Hayes Flanagan. See you next time.